welcome to another episode of The Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Russell Glasser, and with me today is Don Baker.
Hey, good to be here.
Good to see you, too. Today is Sunday, November 11th, 2012. We are a live call-in public access atheist television show based in Austin, Texas, dedicated to promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We are also available through live streaming video at ustream.tv. The official Atheist Experience website is www.atheist-experience.com. You can also provide feedback by commenting on the official show blog at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP or email us at tv@atheist-community.org. If you enjoy the show, check out our sister podcast, Godless Bitches. You can find the link at the Atheist Experience website. As always, the cast and crew of the Atheist Experience will be going to dinner after the show at 6 p.m. At Threadgills on Riverside.
Riverside, right.
Yeah. Still have that wrong in my announcements.
Oh.
But I have a couple of special announcements to make. First of all, you don't normally see him because he's on the other side of this camera, but our producer, John Iacoletti, is not here today because that dude is married to his wonderful wife as of yesterday.
Congratulations.
Yay, John. You want to zoom in on this? Well, it doesn't really have us, but it's the Best of Austin 2012, and this is the third year in a row that the atheist community, that the atheist is the best public access show in Austin.
You're losing your mic.
What?
Okay.
No.
Because it gets
The drama of my announcement.
I'm sorry. You try Don's mic.
Here.
Yours. Let me see if I can fix it.
Great. All right.
Here you go.
As you can see, the competition for the best public access show in Austin. Anyway, I'm just this little blurb that we got here. I quote, "Around the time Richard Dawkins was on a book tour for Unleaving the Rainbow, a screaming cast and crew of Austin's own The Atheist Experience was exploring atheism, ethics, reason, and science, taking calls from true believers and non-believers alike. 15 years and more than 9 million YouTube hits later, the shows keep on coming like clockwork. Yes, but who made the clock? Humans did." That's what it says.
Wonderful review.
I love it. Thank you guys. Thanks for your votes, and thanks at the Austin Chronicle.
For that. We
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
So, have we got a working mic now?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's over to you, Don.
It's
So
over to me. Well, hopefully everybody can hear.
play microphone tag.
Well, I'm doing a long series on the set of failures of Christianity or religions in general, and I've done previously 10 shows. I won't list them all, but the last 10 shows. Today, I'm talking about a failure that's kind of a success and kind of a failure, but you'll see what I mean in a second. And so, I've titled it "Embellishing God's True Religion." Let me start with a little anecdote. I went to Spain a couple of years ago, and I went to the Guadalupe Monastery, where the Virgin Guadalupe, the Spanish one, was said to have appeared, and there's a statue associated with that appearance, that Marian apparition, way back in the 1300s, and the statue is a wood carving of a mother and a child, and supposedly this monastery was built at the site of this miraculous discovery of this statue and all this. And once the monastery was built and they started getting pilgrims and all this, the very first thing they did to the statue was they went and modified it. They changed the hand of the mother so that it could hold a scepter, and so they dressed her up like a queen. It's like a king of kings idea, right? She's royalty because she came down from on high, and so the sort of question is, if God gives you something, or if Mary gave you something, or Jesus or whatever, would you go and set up and change it? Would you immediately decide it's useless or inadequate and go fix it? And the answer is no. So that proves to me that the monks clearly knew that they were working a con. They had this statue that probably came from Africa, which is nearby, and I mean, she brought in lots and lots and lots of money and lots of power to this. She brought in lots of money and lots of power.
You know, even the best politician needs a solid PR team, right?
Right, right. So, and you see that this is a sort of a pattern that occurs over and over again. And so, as far as I can tell, all religions are scams. But often there's this notion of some religion has some revealed truth, some special things, some special knowledge from God, and that element of the scam is necessary to get followers and people to pay attention to you. Because if it's not God, and then it's just your opinion, and who cares about one opinion over another? But then the scam or the issue gets kind of old and tired, and the true religion is later embellished somehow. It's made better, and without fail, the embellishment aids those in power, effectively extending and improving the scam to bring in more money. And so they have to embellish the scam because they're sort of in an arms race with people's BS detectors, which eventually figure out, hey, this thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But in doing that, in doing the embellishment, they effectively are saying that the original thing was a scam or was false, right? And that this all-powerful, all-knowing, all-perfect God screwed up somehow. And here's the latest thing. And even the embellishments get embellished, and so on. So the whole thing is evidence for me that the whole thing, the religions are a scam because they need these embellishments. So I want to give 6 quick examples of this. I want to talk about Christ, heaven and hell, the Trinity, Mormonism, dispensationalism, and pro-life. And these are all embellishments. So Christianity is a big embellishment on Judaism. I might actually call it a bag on the side. It's offshoot. Judaism is 1,000+ years older than Christianity, and according to Jews, Jesus is a false Messiah. And he clearly lies and gives bad advice in the New Testament with regard to prayer and his return and the use of money, these sorts of things. Over time, Christianity gained power, and in the 4th century, especially with Constantine, and the two religions sort of parted ways. So in creating Judaism, did God make a mistake that needed some sort of correction? Was Judaism broken? If so, then it wasn't the true religion, right? So yeah.
No, nothing.
The new religion, the Christianity, had a lot of attributes that are sort of better. It was a better scam in the sense that it was easier to catch flies with honey with Jesus. Jesus, kind of a sweet guy, kind of likable, versus this mean God Yahweh, right? So you can follow Jesus and not have to worry about that mean God. There's this message that poor people shall be rich in heaven. You're going to get all sorts of goodies eventually, and you didn't have to get circumcised, which is a big boon in those days. Over time, though, the Christian myth got embellished, right? So Jesus went from being an average guy to King of Kings and divinity and these sorts of things, and the virgin birth myth is later embellishment, and so. You can see all sorts of embellishments in Christianity, and we're going to touch on a few here. Even during that time, the local commentators that at that time Celsus was saying, "It's clear to me that the writings of the Christians are a lie, and your fables are not well enough constructed to conceal this monstrous fiction." There were critics even back in the day. So
let me interrupt you for a
yeah.
minute. When you say it's a scam, is it your position that the people who have built up Christianity over time have willfully committed fraud that they knew wasn't true, or do you think it was a case where they actually, made up the details and talked themselves into it?
I think it's got elements of both.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to talk about the Trinity in a minute. I think the Trinity is one of those things where they were just trying to make sense of a bunch of stuff that was in their scriptures that didn't really jive together very well. So that might have been more of an accidental
right.
or...
I mean, my experience is that I think people even today make up stuff surrounding their own religion, but they don't think, oh, here's some stuff that I made up, and I'll fool those unbelievers. What they do is that they convince themselves that God is speaking through them, and there's no way to sort of contradict that.
How do you distinguish between self-delusion and lies, right?
It's hard to say if you don't know exactly what's going on inside the other person's head.
I think with this statue that I mentioned early on, I do think that was a conscious thing.
Putting a scepter in her hand?
Yeah, modifying the statue so that she could hold a scepter. And that seems very cynical to me.
I mean, maybe they just thought, well, this way would be more pleasing to God because it would show off her, it would be symbolic of her power in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they rationalize it somehow. Okay. Well, even in heaven and hell is kind of a new thing. Judaism didn't have a concept of heaven and hell. They just had a notion of sleeping with the ancestors, which is a nice way of saying you're gonna be gone and go to rot on your grave, whatever. Such concepts may have been adopted from Egyptian mythology. When Roman Empire, at the time Christianity was created, was a great melting pot of religious ideas. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. And heaven and hell provide a nice big carrot and stick when that's sort of necessary when you get rid of this mean old Yahweh that you're going to have to be afraid of, and you want to replace it with some sort of different carrot and stick and motivate people. So the carrot is John 14:6. Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man shall cometh to the Father but by me. So he's kind of put himself as the middleman. The stick is, if you don't do this, I shall cast them into a furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Matthew 13:42. So, the heaven and hell is a good motivator, infinite reward and punishment. So, how can we tell this is an embellishment? Well, first off, it didn't exist, and then it suddenly existed, and then all of a sudden, in the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages, let's add this notion of purgatory. Which is a process or place where you go and purify your sins, and it turned out to be a great mechanism. A lot of folks said, well, I'm not going to heaven, so why bother with this Catholic Church stuff, right? So they had to address that little problem at that time. And so this gave people a way of purifying themselves over the time and get to heaven eventually. And it also provided a motivation in this world to donate money or give favors to the Catholic Church or do art or these sorts of things. And so purgatory is actually the reason behind a lot of great religious art.
Right.
And architecture.
You're talking about those tickets you could buy to reduce your time in purgatory.
Right.
The name is right on the tip of indulgences. Right. Yeah.
Limbo.
That I can believe is a deliberate scam.
Yeah. Limbo's another one that's kind of a layer of hell that babies go to because they haven't been baptized and these sorts of things. And more recently, they decided that's a theological hypothesis. So they backed away from that the Catholic Church has. So heaven and hell is kind of a rat's maze where you're supposed to run through it and eventually give up all your money to the religions, I guess. I don't know. Trinity is a more recent one. Well, no, it isn't. It comes from the 2nd century Christianity, and it unified the notion of God as Father and Son, this Father-Son thing. It unified this idea of Christ being the same as God, and this weird thing called the Holy Spirit, which is kind of a variant of demon possession as far as I'm concerned, except that you're not being possessed by a demon, you're being possessed by God or whatever. And these mechanisms are really a mind game as far as I'm concerned, right? So the Father is the mind game of, okay, well, if you're not good or if you want something, you got to talk to the big guy, you got to work with the big guy, you got to make him happy, or otherwise he'll stomp on you and send you to hell. The Christ thing was a mechanism to elicit human empathy, right? So you're supposed to empathize with Christ's suffering on the cross or Jesus' suffering on the cross. Although we can wonder whether he really did suffer or whether it was meaningful. And then the Holy Spirit is a way of God stealing credit from humans who do good things, right? Oh, is the Holy Spirit acting through them, or provides a plausible explanation for miracles. And so together these things, I think, are a great sort of mystery or nonsense that has explanatory power if you don't think about it too much. So
It's like quantum mechanics in that way.
Yeah, in a way, right? So 1 + 1 + 1 = 1, but that's just really nonsense.
You know, and they really play up the mystery aspect of it.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's really not that interesting a doctrine when you come down to it, and it makes no sense. But the way they talk about it, it's like,
Right.
oh, it's so mysterious, so it must be true because no one would make that up. And it's like, no, I got it. It's nonsense. So
Right. So it's it's easily made up. Okay. Let's talk about Mormonism. Well, if Christianity is a bag on the side of Judaism, then Mormonism's a bag on the side of Christianity. It was invented by a con artist named Joseph Smith, and he had this interesting con before he started the religion of he'd go to a farmer's place and he looked in his hat as if it were like some sort of periscope or something, and he claimed to find gold there. He'd take an advanced fee for finding the gold and then leave the farmer to go dig up some giant hole in his property to try and find the gold. So that was kind of a good little advanced fee scam. So, and then he'd disappear, of course, before they figured it out. Go on to the next farmer. So his religion is based on him looking into his hat, surprisingly, and looking at golden plates that were written in Reformed Egyptian that dictated to him the Book of Mormon. So I guess he advanced his scam a bit and came up with something, and he figured out. It seemed like a good thing for him, I think, as far as him getting the pick of the litter for sexual playthings, and he got to marry whoever he wanted. And there's a lot of wacky beliefs in Mormonism, and it seems like it's based on a kind of a 19th century bad science fiction. If Scientology is a bad 20th century science fiction, that's a bad 19th century science fiction.
Hey, did you know that the Book of Mormon musical is going to be playing in Austin in 2013?
Awesome. I was lucky enough to see it.
Were you?
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Okay, but I won't be for long because I'm
Good.
I'm going to be there.
Well, they have a little joke in there that's kind of the punchline of the thing. It's not really a spoiler, but but there ends up being a bag on the side of Mormonism.
Oh, somebody making a new
variant. So that's funny. Anyway, but as far as the embellishment idea, well, Mormonism couldn't possibly have been the revealed truth, the awesome truth of God, because in 1978 they had to revise it and allow blacks in. But of course, that's just yet another example of, it'll make us more money if we let blacks in, and it did help the religion grow. Big surprise. Dispensationalism. This is rooted in the writings of John Darby in the 1800s, popularized by Cyrus Scofield in the Scofield Reference Bible. So the idea is that the Bible has these progressive ages that are revealed in the Bible, and they're called dispensations, different covenants with God and these sorts of things. And it's kind of a made-up interpretation of the Bible, and it's heavily tied up with this end-time theology and rapture and tribulation and millennialism. But as I discussed in show 748, the second coming already didn't happen, so it's not going to happen because it already didn't happen. The end-times theology is a big business. Folks have made money, like Hal Lindsey on the late great Planet Earth, the Left Behind series with Tim LaHaye and John Hagee's ministry down in San Antonio. They've all made a lot of money on this, but there's little agreement on how, what, when, where, why, how, what, and all that. So it's all kind of made up stuff, and lots of bilking of people anxious for their sadistic pleasure of being chosen by Jesus to watch the destruction of non-believers. Isn't that awesome? So it's kind of a twisted, sick embellishment on Christianity, I think, personally. The pro-life idea came up in the 50s. It really was a response to the Holocaust, I believe. So after killing Jews and others for 1,400 years, Christianity suddenly got the gospel of being pro-life. And the idea of pro-life is not supported in the Bible. Numbers 31:17. This is God talking now. Therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, take them for yourselves. So isn't that nice? So kill everybody, but keep the little female girls as your sex slaves or whatever. Numbers 23:24. Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion and lift himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey and drink of the blood of the slain. Yummy. Okay, so the pro-life thing is necessary if you're not going to go kill off people who believe the other religions. And how are you going to advance your own religion? Well, you can outbreed the other religions by making more people that follow that religion. And I think that that's the true idea behind the pro-life idea. That they really are scams. So if you're paying attention, you can avoid being conned and see the blatant failure of the revealed truth for what it is.
And check Snopes regularly.
Check Snopes. That's a good place to, yeah. Okay. You got some callers?
All right, we're going to start with Chris in San Francisco. Chris, are you there? Yeah, hi. Not really. I mean, I don't know what you think.
We'd like people to make good decisions, and we'd like people to maybe examine their reasons for believing things. And ideally, people should believe things for good reasons. That's what I think I would want.
Yeah, I don't know that there is an end game. I mean, I wouldn't ask what's the end game for, like, education. It's just we have a point of view which we discuss on the show with some people who agree with us and some people who disagree with us. We provide a social outlet for other atheists to get together and spend time together, and
that's our group.
And we have discussions with people who do believe in God. And I don't know that there's an end game there. We're not trying to exterminate religion. There's no plan for an atheist dictatorship where we will, make you go into hiding or anything like that. Yeah, that's never going to change.
But we're trying.
One call at a time.
We do get a lot of phone calls that make it seem like we're not making progress, but we get tons and tons of emails from folks saying, "Hey, I was sitting on the fence," or "I didn't really think about that," and "Gee, what you're saying makes sense," and I call myself an atheist now, and I'm an active participant, and I'm really for church-state separation. So we get a lot of folks whose minds have been changed. I think maybe not like in the way of an epiphany, where it's like a 180. But a lot of folks are saying, "Hey, I really dig this now. I really understand this now."
Or not even becoming atheists, but just some Christians who have called and said, "Hey, I totally disagree with what you say, but I like the way you present yourselves, and atheists aren't so bad."
Yeah.
I think that is.
Folks can't ask questions in church, right?
Yeah.
You can ask questions here if you want.
Yeah, I think that
just
promoting understanding is a step in the right direction, too.
Oh, that was kind of the point I was getting to. It just seems like a way to get people to think would be like, asking them to try to utilize more critical thinking instead of just like stepping straight into religion. I'm a theist, but there are a lot of people that claim to be theists that just they're theists for all the wrong reasons, and I'm just
okay. Well, I'm interested. What's the right reason?
I didn't mean to go down this road.
I didn't hear you. Say it again, please.
He said he didn't want to go down that road.
Oh, okay, okay. That's fine. That's fine.
It's just the point that I was trying to get at is, in my opinion, it would seem more fruitful to just have like critical get people to critical think.
Well, that is one of the things that we try to promote on this show. I mean, anytime we've got somebody with a clearly bad misunderstanding of science, for instance, we don't tell them, oh, you're an idiot and there's no God. We tell them, you know, you ought to go brush up on the science, basically, because even...
resources to people.
Yeah, I mean, because even if you're religious, you ought to be aware of the best scientific explanations that are available and why people came to those conclusions.
You know, we are part of, I think, a larger movement of folks that might call themselves free thinkers, atheists, humanists, skeptics. There's all sorts of names and things, and we, you know, we're kind of we're all for those things, right? And there's different takes and different spins and different styles and things. We are, I think, in our group, we're kind of anti-religion, many of us, and we are concerned about the harm that religion does. And so as a result, I call myself an atheist, even though I'm also a skeptic and a human. That's the sort of think of themselves as skeptics first, or think of themselves as free thinkers first, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with different styles and everything.
Right, and when you say anti-religion, about, you know, religion must be destroyed, it's like, I mean, people are free to have whatever beliefs they want, even if we think they're to have beliefs, but that doesn't mean that the beliefs themselves are worthy of respect.
Hi, how are you guys doing? Do you have time for minutes? The first one is about that circular argument that we often get, where you ask somebody, oh, why do you believe in God? Because the Bible says so. Why do you believe in the Bible? Because God wrote it. Or however they make it. And I've come across the argument before, and I would say to the person, well, don't you see that this is circular logic?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't use two things to support each other. It doesn't make sense. For some reason, that concept, they don't understand it. They say, no, it's not circular logic. That makes perfect sense. That's how they're raised, I suppose. How can you explain to this kind of person that logic doesn't work?
I find that people, when they get on the topic of religion, they're often there's a compartmentalized idea of religious beliefs and these sorts of things, and those aren't allowed to have reason applied to them. So I find it's very helpful often to make an analogy outside of religion that makes your point, but doesn't carry the baggage of these religious concepts that people have, you know, emotional feelings about, or these sorts of things. So you might make an analogy with maybe the King Arthur myths or something. You know, that how do we know these are true? Well, we don't. You know, or maybe Merlin wrote the myths or something like that. You could do something like that and make an analogy. You have to be kind of clever with the analogy to make it kind of solid. And poignant and simple and easy to understand, but that's, I think, a way to address that.
Right. Well, I mean, coming at this from another direction, this morning I saw an email that we had received from somebody who said, hey, somebody made this really bad argument on my Facebook wall. What can I do to change their mind? And I'm not really a fan of the blue-collar comedy guys, but Ron White said something kind of useful here, which is you can't fix stupid. It's not really your job to, I mean, if somebody is so far gone with logic that you right in their face, yes, that argument just loops in on itself, and they say, well, yeah, but I like it anyway. There's a certain point where it's not really your job to change everybody's mind who comes along.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
For us, we try to do this on the air so that we get an audience of people who are sort of fence sitters or haven't thought about certain things, and that's a way that we can reach those people. We may or may not change the mind of the caller often.
Right. But what you said a minute ago was right, Don. I like to reframe religion in terms of other stuff that's obviously not real. I've sometimes described having a Star Trek rule, which is that, ask yourself if your Bible quote would sound just as impressive to you if it was being said by Captain Kirk instead of some ancient Jews. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it just makes them angry.
It's a little nerdy.
Yeah, but I mean,
I cut the analogy approach. I usually make them extremely angry. How dare you?
Yeah, they get mad about
my
it.
religion to Big Fairy or whatever.
But I mean, it gets across the message that your religion isn't special. It's not worthy of special respect just because it comes out of your book. And it might make them a little more hesitant to use those kinds of arguments in the future, or it might just get the message out to more of the culture at large that, hey, you don't have to take this stuff seriously and nothing bad happens to you if you don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear on the theistic side, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, culture wars. They're
Culture
freaking
wars,
out
or
that
afraid that
so
God's
many
going to
people
send
are
a thunderbolt
atheists now.
down or something. I don't know.
Right. So revel in their fear.
Anything else, Jamie?
Yeah. I was actually I heard Matt say one other time that just the fact that someone is holding an important belief that is obviously false or that it's not supported by any evidence, this is harmful in their life, even if it seems innocuous, even if otherwise they seem skeptical about everything else. The fact that they have this very important false belief is harmful, and I was wondering, and he just said it out like that. He didn't explain it further. I was wondering why.
It's a kind of a subtle abstract thing that once you start believing false things, it's much easier to believe other false things, and it can snowball into making bad decisions in your life, or making decisions that maybe waste your time, because our time here on this planet is quite short and precious, right? And if you're wasting it, believing in crazy things, then you have this opportunity here to do something with yourself. Why not do something great, and why waste your time with false beliefs? Right. So there's a lot of ways to come at that, but it is really kind of an abstract argument that it's like a death by 1,000 cuts idea, really.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not like seriously harmful in any practical way, but all else being equal, if you're making decisions based on false information, then you're more likely to make a bad decision. And I'd like to mention a website which you can check out called whatstheharm.net, which tallies stories about like beliefs, not just religion, but various beliefs with no scientific basis. I'm just glancing through here, and I see numerology, hypnosis, astrology, and if you click on each link, it'll have like recent news stories where somebody was actually harmed in some material way by
That's
these
awesome,
false
Russell.
beliefs.
I'm glad you pulled that up.
Okay.
Whatstheharm.net. One more time.
Great, thanks. And one other question. You were just talking about pro-life. I was just talking with somebody, a friend of mine, about pro-choice. I'm pro-choice. And I never actually looked at the argument very carefully why to believe in pro-choice versus pro-life. So I started looking at it, and she said, well, at conception, that you can consider it that it's a life. And I said, well, that sort of makes sense. I mean, I can kind of wiggle my way out of that, say, once the fetus is conscious, once there's brain activity, maybe that's when you consider it a life and you don't want to abort it. that's sort of some hand waving and drawing somewhat arbitrary lines. You could easily say that at conception, the weed starting, that's when the life starts, and if you abort it, then that's murder and that's bad, and so for life. So I'm not really sure how to approach that argument. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
You should totally check out the Atheist Experience blog, where just a couple of weeks ago we posted a video of Matt Dillahunty debating Christine Kruszelnicki, who is a secular pro-life advocate. And generally the crowd consensus seems to be that he mopped the floor with her. So I would look at that.
Yeah. I think one of the issues is the whole question is framed a bit wrong. There's a question of who's going to be responsible for this child, I think, needs to be considered. Mm-hmm. And if a person can't be responsible, then what happens? And if you're coming at it from that angle, the responsibility angle, then I think you can reach better conclusions than if you have sort of an emotional, this is a human life, and under no circumstances can this life be killed.
Right. There's really, I think, two core reasons why it's reasonable to be pro-choice. One of them is basically the bodily rights argument, that which is the main thing that Matt used in his debate, which says that whether it's a human life or not, the fetus is essentially
a parasite of some
sort. Yeah, an intruder of some sort. Nobody has the right to force anyone else to use part of their body to sustain somebody. You can't force somebody to make a liver transplant. And so the real issue is the right of autonomy of women, which is a fairly significant issue in the pro-choice movement. And the other thing is, unless you have some kind of religious attachment, there really is no magical transition that happens like between the time before the sperm contacts the egg and after the sperm contacts the egg. I mean, the process of a life developing into something with a fully functioning brain and nervous system that is conscious and capable of understanding being killed is this long, drawn-out process.
Yeah, there is no moment of conception.
Just happen instantly.
Right.
I do feel, in terms of the idea of the baby almost as an invader, forcing the mother to take care of it with the baby in its womb, in her womb, I don't feel that takes a lot of water, because the baby didn't, just come along and say, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna sit inside you. Is that okay?" The mom had sex and then she got pregnant. So she's the one who created that situation, and now there's a small.
Yeah, we're very much.
Well, I did research on this.
Sure.
Something that looks like a baby, but it's the size of a pea, but it's getting there.
I mean, at the point of conception, it's just a handful of cells. I mean, difficult to really take seriously the description of it as a baby.
But it's not a handful of cells. If you look at it around 3 months, it has fingers, it has toes.
I said at the moment of conception.
Yeah. So, we believe that mothers also have responsibilities, or women who get pregnant also have responsibilities to protect themselves, and sometimes that doesn't work, sometimes it does. So we're very much for sex education and people making good decisions and planning their parenthood. I know that's a controversial thing for some reason. I don't understand why. But if you're going to have kids, it's a ginormous responsibility, and you might as well be prepared for it. And why not have strong kids? Right.
And in a lot of cases, and this is, in my opinion, totally up to the mother. Just not having kids that you're not prepared for is the much more responsible choice, rather than just sort of romanticizing the idea that this is a baby and I must preserve it no matter what.
And I should add one before we break off with you. There are other countries that have done a much better job than the U.S. as far as reducing the number of abortions without having to do draconian things like forcing women to have children that they can't afford or don't want. There's much better ways of going about this if you can put a religion aside and deal with this as a rational human being. So we can do a lot better.
Some of the countries or some of the ways really quickly, so I could look something up.
Well, there are countries in Europe, for example, that provide prenatal care and contraceptives and education in high schools and these sorts of things, and it's not spun as abstinence only or any of this stuff. They get the real education, and it does make a big difference. And if you're working against these things, I wonder if you're really anti-abortion or whether you're just wanting to make more human beings regardless of their poverty. Anyway, so yeah, take a look at a lot of the European countries do a much better job and have lower abortion rates, and that's what I think we should be striving for, is to reduce the abortion rates based on good decisions, right, rather than coercing people, manipulating people.
Really terrible.
Yeah, abstinence-only education is the stupidest idea. It has been proven not to work and to actually make things worse.
Yep.
So, anyway,
thank you for your call, Jamie. We're gonna move on.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay.
Mark in Australia.
Yeah, hello guys from Adelaide, sister city of Austin.
And, wonderful. Thank you.
Just before I start, I'd just like to say hello to the Austin Crows Australian football rules team, and I just want to say go Crows.
Okay. By football, you mean soccer, right?
Awesome.
I get up every Monday morning and have breakfast in front of the Atheist Experience live feed, and I love it. I've been doing it for about 3 years, and I really love it. And I was just thinking the other day, because I sort of revisited this elevator gate thing and the schism, which seems to be a part of the atheist community. That's what I wanted to do, actually, ask your opinion on that, whether you think there is a schism and whether it's important. The reason I feel that there, and what I was going to say is that I haven't seen much of this on the atheist.
Before you get to your explanation, no.
No schism.
What, sorry?
No.
No schism.
No what?
No, I don't think there's some terrible schism that's ripping the atheist
community apart. Well, can I just say why I think there might be a schism? I think there is a schism because you have people like Richard Dawkins who are heroes one day, and the next day he's a demon to a certain proportion.
Nobody thinks he's a demon. We think a lot of people thought he was wrong. I mean, do we have to do a nutshell version of what is meant by elevator gate?
No, I don't know if we need to. I don't want to focus on that. I just wanted to go on about why there might be a schism. The other thing is Thunderfoot, who is well respected, and he's kicked off the blog after a week of action. And then we have respected like Richard
Hang on.
Who,
Stop. Stop now. I'm going to have to interrupt you when you say that Thunderfoot, who was a well-respected member of the community, was kicked off after just for saying some nasty stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a part of Free Thought Blogs, and by the way, this is going to be pulled out, put on YouTube, where 1 million people will yell at us. But I'm going to say it anyway. There was a whole lot of there was a ridiculous level of unprofessionalism when Thunderfoot showed up on Free Thought Blogs. He basically told everybody off almost immediately. There was no unilateral decision to kick Thunderfoot off of Free Thought Blogs. There was a popular vote, which was almost majority. We don't want to deal with this guy anymore.
Okay. All right. I accept that. But we have intelligent people like Richard Carrier who draws a line in the sand and says, you're either in this camp or you're in that camp.
Richard Carrier apologized for that.
Is done. And
Richard Carrier, hey,
rhetoric like,
yo,
we will kick you into
Richard
the
Carrier,
gun-sucking enemy.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Richard Carrier apologized for that comment a couple days later. People didn't agree with that.
Well, that's fair enough as well. But what I'm saying is there is a bit of emotion here, and it's something you don't sweep under the carpet. There certainly is an issue, and it needs to be discussed, but it's not being discussed well, it's not being discussed on the Atheist Experience TV show, and it can't be discussed in the Atheist Plus forum because there are mechanisms there to stop it being discussed. And all I'm saying is we still need to discuss this thing.
The Godless Bitches have discussed it. Mark.
You've got one side saying,
Yo,
you're not
Mark,
getting
slow down
it.
a minute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say the Godless Bitches, our sister podcast, has aired this out quite a bit, so you know that you might want to tune in there.
Might be, but they might have a bias
of...
as well. I assume they do have a bias. They're in one camp. They've got a foot in one camp.
I don't know that these camps are real. Personally, but.
I mean, one of the things is that a lot of this infighting is pretty much internet-based, and I've talked to P.Z. Myers, who has made public speeches about this at atheist conventions that he's gone to, and said that, you know, from the internet reaction, I would have expected like huge pushback and anger. But when I talk about Atheism Plus in a room full of people who are, you know, there visiting a convention or something, and by Atheism Plus, I'm just talking about, in addition to atheism, being concerned about issues of social justice, being concerned about treating people with equality and
science education, environment.
Yeah, and creating a safe environment for diversity in atheist social events, which is something that the Atheist Community of Austin is totally behind. P.Z. Myers says that he gets almost universal support for this stuff. A faction of angry people can sound a lot louder when they're in YouTube comments. But I think that in general people support this.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. I think there are a lot of intelligent people on the other side, the non-P.Z. Myers camp, who are, like myself, skeptic, rational thinking atheists, who are non-sexist, believe in women's rights, but also believe in men's rights, and believe in social justice issues, but are not feminists. And that's the thing. When you say you're not a feminist, you're suddenly told that you're a misogynist, or you're not getting it. And that's what insults we intelligent people who are not perhaps... I think we've got the same goals. I think both camps have got the same goals. It's just how we get there. It's the way we get there is the issue, and we need to discuss it.
What's your opposition to feminism?
Because my opposition to feminism is some of the well, I call it dogma. There are certain things that's been built over 30, 40, 50, 100 years that's been developed by feminists, certain things which I don't perhaps agree with, some principles and some theories, and which can't be questioned on the Atheist Plus side. You start questioning certain things, and then they cut you off.
Like what?
You start questioning, well, I don't believe wholeheartedly in the principle of privilege, some of the way that's represented. And that's only a thing I've only just recently learned about. Apparently because I'm white, male, university educated, my opinion has less, my opinion is valued less than other people.
Really? Because I'm white, male, college educated, and I've never felt that my opinion is any less valued by feminists.
Well, you should join Atheist Plus, which I have done in the last week. You should join Atheist Plus and start having a chat with people, just having normal conversations, and you will find that there's a rhetoric and a dogma, and you're going to find it hard to talk sensibly with some people.
That hasn't been my experience in the slightest. I'm sorry.
Mark, you're talking about a particular website, and I think we're talking more about you know, among our community and in conventions and these sorts of things where we've circulated.
I'm also talking about like the email list at Free Thought Blogs, where just about everybody is wholeheartedly behind this. There's a lot of women, particularly, you know, the demonized women who people claim say this stuff, like Ophelia Benson, like Jen McCrae. They're awesome people.
So I think you need to separate maybe the movement from the website that has that movement's name.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, all I'm asking for is a place where this discussion, I feel that a discussion needs to be had, and it needs to be had somewhere. Now, you can have it on a forum. There's various forums out there. You can have it on the Atheist Experience. But if people are just blogging each other, I mean, no one listens to the other side. You've got to actually have a debate. In fact, I'd love to see a town hall debate between P.Z. Myers and, well, I don't know, someone else who's on the opposite side, who's intelligent. I'd love to see that. In fact, I'd love to see, if he was still alive, I'd love to see Christopher Hitchens and P.Z. Myers have a debate on this, because I know where Christopher Hitchens would stand.
I don't know where Christopher Hitchens would stand, actually.
Well, you know, they're always
I
looking for ideas at these conventions.
I'm just guessing where he might stand.
So
I know where he'd stand if he joined Atheism Plus, how he'd get on there, just like Matt Dillahunty also. I know, you know, everyone knows about the Matt Dillahunty affair, and he agrees he should have been kicked off, but he didn't last very long on that forum.
All right, but he is also totally behind Atheism Plus.
the move.
Yeah, I realize that.
Yeah. So
And
I
that's
mean,
fair.
if you're going to try to make it a
You
schism
can
by,
choose sides, but I think a debate needs to be had. That's all I'm saying.
all right,
It's
well,
not finished
we're
with yet.
having
Can't
one,
sweep it
sort
under
of.
the carpet.
Okay.
Anyway, they're my thoughts.
All right.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye. Any other thoughts? I kind of took over there.
No, that's fine. That's
All right. Marie in Houston.
Yes, hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hey, I'm watching you guys right now, and it's so nice to see you guys. I'm a big fan.
fine. Good, good.
Can you guys hear me? I have a cold, so I have like a sore throat.
No,
you're fine.
you're just fine.
Okay, my question for you is this, and I don't know how you will answer that, but let's say, for example, when we wake up one day and we see like the beast and with the stars of Babylon coming down, what do you think the military would do? Because I think that one of the main responsibilities of any government is to protect the people. Do you think they will just let them just come and like destroy half of us, or do you think they'll deploy the military?
I think that would be a job for the Avengers.
Yeah, I was thinking along similar lines. It's like, oh, this is make a great sci-fi movie or something, you know?
Yeah, that's actually right in line. I would like to see that for Avengers 2. Second Coming.
Yeah.
Avengers Fight It Back.
To answer your question more seriously, it's so far-fetched that I don't even know if I could even answer it. So, what can I say?
I mean, I think the point you're trying to make is that we're just supposed to assume that all this stuff about the apocalypse is good because we're informed that nothing God does can be bad. Whereas, you know, if this was some alien invasion doing exactly the same thing, then you know, then you'd have a great action movie and they'd be the bad guys, right?
Yeah, and I also think that even like if we start to notice and we see as a Christian God that's coming back, what about countries who are like, let's say, Muslims or, you know, Buddhist countries? Will they not deploy their military to like defeat them? That way we don't go to, I mean, their people do not go to hell.
Right. Well, they're evil. I mean, have you read all of the Narnia Chronicles by C.S. Lewis?
No, I have not. I've seen the movies, though.
Yeah, you know, the last book, which is called The Last Battle, actually has, like, Aslan coming back and then this group of people who worship Tash, which is a stand-in for Muslims, you know, are the bad guys fighting back against this apocalyptic event. So, I mean, as long as you're going the realm of fantasy, you might as well read somebody who takes this stuff seriously, making an allegory out of it.
Okay, and I just have one last question. I know you have other colors, but when Jesus went to the desert or the mountain for 30 days to meditate and reflect on his godliness, and the devil showed up and said, if you want to get out of here, I'm just paraphrasing, then I can help you gain control of the whole world. All of this will be yours. Doesn't the devil know that Jesus and God are the same? And if so, what exactly is he promising? Because all that stuff belongs to God anyway. Why would he promise him that, you know?
It is a head-scratcher, right? It's like he's the same. Jesus is the same as God when it helps the storyline, and he's different when it helps the storyline.
Well, you
right?
know, didn't the whole Trinity stuff really get embellished, just like you were saying at the beginning? I mean, you know, it wasn't till centuries later that it was really sort of hammered out what they meant by that. It was, here's all this
the
stuff
divinity
in the
of
Bible
Jesus
that we
was a
can't make
late
any sense
thing,
of.
right. So it's an evolving thing, you know, and it changes, and yeah, you can look at a lot of the early scriptures, and it's like it doesn't make sense with regard to how we think of it today or how Christians think of it today. So yeah, you made a good point.
Right.
Okay, just one last question. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, we're almost out of time, though.
Okay. All right. Do you think you can, like, if you were to go back in time, could you convince ancient people that you were the God? If you, let's say, took an iPhone back there with you and showed them videos of people talking in a box and so forth?
Sure.
Mark Twain, Connecticut Yankee, and King Arthur's Court.
Okay.
Or Arthur C.
Thank you.
Clarke, what is it? Sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
A lot of good science fiction questions today.
Pretty much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Marie.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, shoot. One more minute. Okay. I'm sorry about this, Joshua. After the show, I'll put you on hold for a minute and you can finish your question off the air. But say something in 30 seconds and we'll try to answer it.
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, and I'll wait the few minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Take number 3.
Number 3. No, really? That's not something we want to do at the very last minute. That's our show.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Okay.
Yeah, Joshua was unwilling to help us fill time, but I want to thank our wonderful crew, including John, who I hope is having a great honeymoon.
Yep.
And I want to thank you, Don, for showing up.
My pleasure.
Giving your usual great presentation.
Thank you.
Hey, studio audience. Good to see you guys here. And I guess...
food.
What? Food. Oh, yeah. Red Gills. Red Gills, Riverside, 6 o'clock. We'll be there. You could, too, if you felt like it. And that's it. Tune in next week for another award-winning episode of The Atheist Experience.